Behind the images of power and money are real people with real stories, plans of hard work, sacrifice, and making the best decisions, turning failure into great achievement. Join us in conversation with leading business owners as we learn the secrets of how to gain long-term success, mistakes made, lessons learned, and how to build the kind of wealth that lasts for generations. Welcome to Wealth Wednesdays, hosted by Chicago Treasurer Melissa Conyears-Ervin. Join us now and build your own success story.
We have coming to the stage Shari Nycole of Essence. Everyone knows Essence, don't they? Shari Nycole of Essence flew in to join us for this very important panel on this morning. We have some dynamic women about to take the stage. So at this time, I am going to pass the mic to a beautiful black woman, a black sister that I am proud of. I see you all walking to the front. Keep walking to the front. There are chairs here. Shari Nycole of Essence will lead this discussion. Can you all help me in giving Shari a hand? Them some bad shoes she got on today, honey. We matching and you look good, sister. Are you mic'd up? Oh, okay. Do I need a mic? Am I good with this microphone? Hi, everybody. Shout out to the gentleman over here to my right. He started clapping first. My man's right here. Thank you so much for the love. Hi, Chicago. It's nice to be home. I live in Atlanta. I've been there for 8 years, but it's always great to be home. So thank you guys for welcoming me back to my hometown. We're going to have an amazing conversation with some incredible women in sports. Who's excited? I got to make sure I'm in the right room. Okay. That was all right. That was all right. I hear you, sis in the hat. I hear you. Thank you for the support. One more time. Am I in the right room? Who's ready for this incredible conversation? There we go. There we go. There we go. So the first person I want to bring out is Renee Montgomery. She's the assistant coach for the Chicago Sky, and she's the head coach for the Nigerian national team. Come on, sis, join us, join us. Join us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I said the assistant coach for the Chicago Sky, excuse me. Thank you very much. Jessica, where are you? Jessica's very nervous, guys, for no reason, because this is going to be very fun. But please welcome Jessica Carruthers. She's a 2025 NAIA Women's Basketball Player of the Year. Of the Year. Welcome, Jessica. Next up is Karen Leetzow. She's the president of the Chicago Stars FC. Please welcome her to the stage. Next up, I got Chicago's own, and let me tell you something. Her hair is pressed, honey. I love it. Renee Harper, she's a pro basketball player, founder and sports consultant. Welcome, Chicago's very own. And rounding this thing on out is my good sis, Renee Montgomery. She's a WNBA champion. She's a co-owner and vice president of the Atlanta Dream. The serial optimist herself. Welcome, welcome, welcome. One more round of applause for all these incredible, incredible women. I feel like Renee and Renee are literally 100 yards from me. This is crazy. But welcome, welcome to you all. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for allowing me to get this conversation started. And we're going to start very baseline, especially for you, Jessica, because we're going to get rid of the nerves immediately. We are in Chicago, one of the most beautiful cities in the world. There's a lot happening in our nation right now and in this city specifically. So down the line, starting with you, Renee, and on down, we can go in order in this one. The importance of you all making sure that you were a part of this specific moment on this specific stage in this specific city at this specific time.
First of all, I just want to say I'm so glad to be here amongst you guys today. Huge shout out to Miss Melissa Conyears-Ervin for putting on this phenomenal event. And to be on this stage with other powerful women and leaders in sports, this is everything. We always talk about representation, and it matters. You have literally every single ethnicity on this stage, and it means everything to us. So I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, guys.
Hello. I'm also very grateful to be here and to have this opportunity. I would say I'm just a girl from Indiana, so being here in Chicago, it's very different for me, but I think this is a very great event and grateful to be here as well.
Thanks for having me. Super grateful to be here. I think what we know is that little girls need to see big girls play sports. And so any example we can set, anytime we get invited out to speak, we take that opportunity because we know as examples in our communities, we can make big things happen.
Hello? Oh, can you hear me? Oh, perfect. For me, it's honestly, it's a blessing to be up here on this stage with a powerful group of women with the same mission of women in sports, empowerment. And for me, being from the south side of Chicago, I would have never imagined me being on this stage. And so like you all mentioned, it's about representation. And so for me, I'm happy that I'm able to be that for every young girl in Chicago.
Fire, fire. What's up, Chi-Town? So first of all, let's go. Let's go. Oh man, listen. First, Melissa's doing big things. And so sometimes we got to link up. Like for me, it's as simple as, oh, you trying to do this over here for this reason? Yeah, count me in. Like, so that's as simple as it is. I understood what she was trying to do, and I wanted to be a part of it. That's kind of what we do in Atlanta, too. It's like, we have to start to get, Shari said something, so we all know there's a lot going on. So when there's a lot going on, I think we all got to lean on each other a little bit more in every aspect, no matter what it is. And so whether that's coming to talk to each other just to show, whether that's me doing a camp so little girls can see, well, there's a lot of bad news going on. Well, here's some good news. We just got to all be there for each other. So my reason for being here is very simple. Melissa asked me to pull up and I'm in the building. Like that's it.
And to that point, Renee, I'm gonna put you on Front Street a little bit, being that you're a Chicago native. And you know, again, I'm from here. I don't currently live here. I've seen a lot of our stars, be from here as Chicago natives and ultimately leave. Doesn't mean they don't pour back into the city, but their presence alone is something that is no longer in the city. So for you, in everything that you've been able to do, whether it's in competition or outside of it, what are you doing to ensure that you are pouring back into the city of Chicago, and how gratifying has that been for you?
That's a great question. For me, I look at it as a lot of the young girls who they idolize, they never get a chance to meet. To your point, not because of they don't want to, but because of time and obligation of being a professional athlete. And so for me, being back home in my hometown, it's important for me to be present. It's important for every young girl to see that Lene grew up in the same streets. She went through the same struggles, had the same households, and she still beat the odds and made it to the professional level. And that's why I'm so heavily embedded into my community. And I want to make sure that these girls have the hope and every opportunity to dream big and do anything they want to do in life.
Yeah. Round of applause there. Okay. You might have a little evangelist spirit on you, sis. Karen, I want to come to you because we talk about, and Lene kind of alluded to it. There's barriers to entry, especially when we talk about being in leadership at the level that you are at. Also, Renee as well. So I'll start with you and I'll move to Renee with the same question. There are a lot of young people who may say, how do I get there? It may seem impossible for them to envision themselves in the positions that you and Renee have specifically. What's one barrier to entry that you were able to push past to get where you are now, and how has that anchored you in your career in leadership?
Oh, it's a great question. I mean, I come from men's sports, so the barriers are inherent day one. They don't want you in the room. They maybe don't want you to speak up. The bad thing about me is that I do speak up and I say what I think wherever I am. And so sometimes it's just a matter of getting started. Just start. Just push your way in, elbows up, be respectful, but don't take no for an answer. And so, my job for little girls these days is just to be seen. See me see I'm real, you can touch me. I did this, you can too.
Renee, I want to ask the same question, but flip it on its head just a little bit, because you ultimately went from on the court in women's sports to C-suite in women's sports. But with that said, did you deal with any level of resistance or skepticism because you were a player moving into the level of leadership that you now sit in?
It's crazy because the answer probably should be yes, but being a part of an ownership group with Suzanne and Larry G, they actually value what I say because they understand that I've been there. I've experienced what our players are experiencing. Sometimes they even ask me, "Yo, what do you think about this?" And I think if you talk to any of our players on the Atlanta Dream, they're going to tell you their experience that they enjoy it because I've been in their shoes and I know what athletes want. They want to feel professional. They want to feel like they put the work in and they're being pampered and they are who they are. And so I think it's just when you start to look at positions of power, it can be intimidating. You know, you asked her, what's the barriers? Like for me, it's consistency. Like, all right, I like to talk to you guys. So has anybody told you that you couldn't do something that you pretty much knew you could do? Like, I mean, I'm just being for real. Like, it's like a lot of times people don't know what you can do or don't know the work you put in and don't know what you're capable of. And so I think that's kind of how it was for me. Everybody saw me be an athlete. So they knew I could be a point guard. They knew I could lead a team. They knew I could lead a team to even a championship. But then they didn't really know if I could lead a team in the business world. Of course, I knew I could because if you can lead athletes, those are the hardest people. Like, come on, man. You know, like, listen, if y'all don't know about athletes, you got to dance around the egos. You got to dance around the stress. So if you're talking to an athlete, you got to be like, listen, okay, amazing shot.
Right.
But next time, you know, you gotta learn how to, you gotta talk to athletes nice. So if you do that same thing in the office, it translates. People don't know you can do it until you show them. So I think the main thing for me is just consistency and put that work in.
Rena, I know we're gonna have to do a little swapperoo with this mic. And then Jessica, I'm coming to you next, just giving you a heads up. I'm hoping that nervousness is waning a bit. Renee talked about leadership a lot, and you lead in two different facets, but at a very high level. As women, we are multitaskers by nature, we are nurturers by nature, and with nurturing comes empathy. But how do you manage to, or I should say, toe the line between empathy and coddling when it comes to how you lead the women that you lead on the basketball court, ultimately off as well?
Great question. I think it all starts with relationships. And as a coach, our job is to connect, right? So you got to know who, you know, the person is when they take off that jersey, right? And they have to trust you, all right? If they trust you, they will run through a wall for you, right? And then you can have those hard conversations. But if there's no trust, they're not doing anything for you. So I think my method is building that relationship and having those hard conversations with them. Like Renee said, like, hey, that was a okay shot, but let's get a better one. And they'll ride for you for that.
Okay, Jessica, your turn. Rena mentioned the word trust, and we've talked about athletes' egos, and you're kind of just sitting in the middle like, wait a minute, they talking about me. What level of trust or support has really helped you in your basketball career? And on the other side of that, is there still a level of support you feel like female athletes are not getting at your level that they desperately need?
I would say I put a lot of trust in my coaches. That's something that I didn't really have in the past. I didn't really have, like you said, a relationship with my coach. This year's a lot different. I feel very comfortable talking with my coaches, and I think it translates onto the court as well. I do think that it is lacking nowadays. It's not really something that's really prioritized, I would say. But I think it does go a long way, and it should be prioritized.
What also should be prioritized is pay equity. And I can't believe that we're still having these types of conversations, to be honest with you all. Women in the sports space, whether in competition or in the front office, have made so many strides. It's almost insulting at this point for us to keep having to beat that dead horse, but let's do it right now. And Karen, I actually want to start with you. When we think about pay equity in women's sports specifically, what are your thoughts around that? But also, how does someone in your position negotiate what they deserve?
It's a great question. I think it all starts with transparency. And I think we're seeing that happen with the laws around the country. We have an understanding of what people are being paid, no matter what profession they're in. Once you have that transparency, you can really say, holy shit, like, I don't have that, and I've done the same things that they've done. How do I get there? I think it's really difficult, particularly for young women, to make those asks because they feel so lucky to be there in the first place because they haven't been there before. And I think that is holding them back. I think we need to flip that on its head a little bit and say, you know what, we are just as deserving. We are in the room. We are doing the same work. We're bringing the same ethos to the office. And you need to make those asks. But it's really tough in an environment where men's sports for 100 years has had every advantage. Public funding has gone to men's sports. That serves as seed money to grow these sports into billion-dollar enterprises. They have the infrastructure, the office space, all the things. And of course they're driving revenue to be able to pay the men more. We need to be asking for those same things, but instead we're told we need to share. Share. When you share infrastructure, you cannot drive that same revenue because, just as an example, if you go to, Allegiant Stadium, they have the naming rights. Any women's team who's renting that space doesn't get a piece of that naming rights deal. So you're already driving less revenue to the bottom line for women. So it starts with the understanding that you deserve it, which we all need to internalize more. And then you need to move to the ask, and then you need to demand. And so I think we're sort of in between the asking and the demanding phase. I'm out there every day demanding on behalf of my sport and my team, but I have the privilege of doing that because of who I am, how old I am, and I've been around a long time. But I do think we need to internalize the deserving part.
Yeah, for sure. Lene, same question, a little bit interpreted a little bit differently from my end, so I'll re-ask it. What does the action in the ask look like for you? And I ask you because there's several branches to your business tree, right? We've got the pro athlete piece and the pay and equities there. But then when you move on the business side, I'm sure there's some other things that you've had to kind of break through or ask for in that respect. So the speaking up that Karen talked about, what has been your strategy? When do you know when to hold them and when to fold them? How does that work?
That's a great question. The one thing that I'll say is that it's important to know your value. When I was growing up, I was very shy in rooms. I was like, I don't want to talk about myself. I don't want to come off as, cocky. But people don't know, and it's important to educate them in the right way. And so when you look at the WNBA, one of the main issues is the salaries are capped. The resources can be limited. And every year, the league is bringing in high-level talent, sacrificing day in and day out, and when you look at playing ball overseas, because a lot of the athletes don't get an opportunity to play in the WNBA, you get paid more, but the trade-off is that you have to be away from your families from 7 to 9 months. You're missing those memorable moments. You're missing your siblings and your nieces and your nephews grow up. And for some players, not all are compensated well. Some players have unstable living conditions, and that can truly, truly be hard. And so one thing that I learned early on in my career is like, regardless if you're making $50,000 or if you're making six figures, how are you managing your money? How are you investing it? How are you continuing to educate yourself? Because at some point in your journey, the clock is going to stop ticking. The ball is going to stop bouncing. And at that point, I've always wanted to make sure that I was ready. And so during my time in the off seasons when I was playing overseas, I was locked and loaded in my computer. I was researching, what do I want to do when I'm done playing? What can I do while I'm playing? How can I set myself up with certain relationships so that I'll be ready? And now I'm grateful for those mentors. I'm grateful for those rooms and opportunities because now I can teach these young girls the right way and they'll have a head start than what I've had. Yeah. So it's important to speak up for yourself. It's important to not shy away. And it's important to truly be yourself in every room.
Yeah, for sure. Renee, I'm going to swing over to you. Lene mentioned some real things that are happening with, I would say, the majority of the athletes in the WNBA specifically. I call you a builder. I call you a serial optimist, and I mean that in the best of ways. Morale is also something that is impacted with the condition, many of the conditions she just mentioned. So from your standing as an executive, also as a former player, how do you make sure the morale of your team stays high, knowing that a lot of these things are things that many of your players are dealing with season to season?
Yeah, I mean, we can control what we can control, you know? So when we're in the A, like when we're in Atlanta, we're going to take care of you as best we can. Like, we can't control what happens in the CBA negotiations. We can't control all these, like, we can't control even getting you sponsorships if our players wanted sponsorships. But we can control where you stay, the hotel you stay at. We can make sure that, yeah, we're allowed to do 3 stars, but maybe we're going to do 4. You know, like, these are things that we can actually control. And so that's what we do. You know, we let the players know what we can do and what we can't. I'm going to be a point guard through and through. So if a player ever even comes to me and like, hey man, what's going on with this? I'm going to be like, hey man, I'm not allowed to do it. Like, what you mean? Like, it's like, you have to be for real players and let them know. And there's boundaries, you know, like I learned that going from player to the ownership group. It was, oh, we're not allowed to do that. So I might have been mad at the wrong people all this time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you start to realize, oh, there's rules that this is why they're not doing that. And so I had to really learn that, because with our ownership group, we want to do the best thing we possibly can at all times, but we have to paint within the lines. And so sometimes when the players are asking for things, we're like, man, listen, I wish too. So I think it's really just the team morale stays high because, you know, players have exit interviews where they gonna tell you how they really feel. And I'm so proud after every exit interview every year, because our players, they get it. They know that we're doing the maximum amount that we can do, and they show their appreciation. So for me, you keep morale high by telling them the truth, staying transparent, and communicating at a high level.
Jessica and Rena, before I get to you, Karen, I want to ask you this question because I'm just super interested. Renee kind of alluded to, hey, there's rules and regulations. But I feel like somebody that gets to the level that you are currently at, there's some rules they had to buck against in some respect. How do you determine when it's time to just go ahead and go forth and get the slap on the wrist later? And or on the other side of it, how do you know, okay, I need to comply here? What does that towing of the line look like for you?
Well, for me, it always starts with what's the intent of the rule in the first place. And so if the intent of the rule is solid and it's something that makes sense, you're trying to manage against, I don't know, player safety or something, we're just not going to skirt the rule on that. But if you look at the intent of the rule and you ask 5 people and they have 5 different reasons for the rule, that's a dumb rule, and we're going to buck that rule. And we're always going to try and do it in favor of the organization and the players and with respect. But and we've won a couple of those things. In our league, for example, we had a rule that when we were doing a sponsorship contract, that the league had the right to cancel that contract when they came in with a bigger deal for the league. And that's just a dumb rule. It's a dumb rule because the teams at the local level, we're building those relationships with partners. Revenue is so important to us. And so to have to go to your partner and say, we're going to sign you up for 3, but we might have to cancel you after 1. That makes no sense. But it took us a while to get the league to that point. And so the league has come around to our point of view at the team level. But you really have to understand, what's the intent of the rule? Does it make sense? And then you have to work to get them, or whoever's rule it is, to understand why it needs to be changed respectfully. And so we do that, we did that. And so you just have to look at, in my view, what's the intent of the rule?
Rena, for you, how is, I don't think I'm wrong in saying this, there's a level of advocacy that's attached to the level of coaching that you do, especially with the Nigerian national team, which, unbelievable job. How has that anchored your career as a coach, but also anchored you as a Black woman specifically?
It's honestly, like, it's changed my life, guys. Like, to be able to be the first female in Africa to coach a team, like, it's groundbreaking. And just, we're hearing about all of these things that are happening here in the States. Back home in Africa, we are 50 years behind, right? And if you think about it, most of our athletes are coming from Africa, right? Most of them are here playing in the States. And to like I said, to only be the first African coach, we got a long way to go. But for me, like, I took that position without getting paid. A lot of people don't know that. Wow. I took that position without a salary, without getting paid, because I knew that, hey, this is bigger than me. Yeah. I knew that I'm inspiring the next generation of female coaches, even women, it's bigger than me. So it was my duty that I had to take that position. And I'm so glad that God gave me the opportunity to excel in this position. Nice. So it's only him.
All right, Jessica, how you feeling? This is just a wellness check. You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
So we are in the world of NIL, and I'm just going to be transparent. NIL transfer portals were not in place when I played basketball. I'm jealous of all of y'all, but I digress. This isn't about me. With that said, you've got social media. You have the pressures that come along with that. You also have the pressures that come along with NIL. You got teammates that are getting it. You have some that are not. You're trying to get it yourself. How have you worked through this particular environment in sports that we're in right now, where NIL specifically is so important, and we're watching athletes take off in a lane of financial freedom that we haven't seen at the amateur level ever?
I think NIL is great. I think athletes should be getting paid what they're worth, and knowing your worth is very important. I guess navigating through the transfer portal and NIL, it was a roller coaster, I'd say. Very crazy, stressful, but at the same time, it was a very eye-opening situation, I'd say. My coach is here. Coach
Where's your
Gracie.
coach? Stand up.
She's over there recording me.
Hey!
Follow us on Instagram, UIC_WBB. But just talking to her, she makes sure that I know my worth and reminds me every day that I'm a great person on and off the court. I love her. But yeah, just being grateful for the opportunity, and kind of when she was recruiting me, knowing that I'm worth something.
Yeah.
And she helps me prioritize mental health, and I think that's a very big part in my basketball journey. I had lows, I had highs. I think right now I'm at a high.
Great.
But all around, I'm very grateful that NIL is a thing now, and I think everybody deserves the opportunity to get that.
Yeah. Let's talk a little more financial freedom right now. Lene, I'll come to you first. At what point in your life did you have a real understanding around the importance of financial literacy? And what has that meant for you now at this point in your life?
I'll be honest. This
is the honesty row.
This is honesty. So coming out of college, I always had it in my mind that I would get drafted. I told myself that if I did everything the right way, from showing up every day to sacrificing to doing everything the right way, that I would get drafted. And so it's the draft night. I'm sitting there with my family. I see my name scrolling, and I didn't get drafted. And so for me, that was an eye-opener, because I'm like, well, what do I do next, right? I'm done with college. We didn't have NIL. We had stipends. So no more stipends. What is next? I had my degree, but I wasn't prepared financially. And so for me, I'm happy that I had the perseverance to keep going, and I had coaches to believe in me, and I played for the Chicago Sky, and grateful to play in front of my hometown. But honestly, when COVID hit, that was the hardest. It wasn't a lot of opportunities. The players were, bubbled in for the season, and I had no other options. And so I actually worked at the Snipes on 47th and Cottage.
Wow.
Because I had to make money. And a lot of people don't know that. But for me, I'm like, I don't want to be at home. I don't want to keep asking my mom, like, hey, can I get $100 here, $100 there? But it just taught me, perseverance, and I'm grateful that I continue to stick through that, to now I'm able to invest. I'm able to give back to my community. I'm able to educate the young girls on the steps to take so that they won't be in my position. roughly 1% of athletes make it to the professional level, and that 99%, they don't know that you can still be successful. And this is a perfect example right here. You can be an owner of a team. You can be the president of a club. You can be a college student at a college. You can be representing the first, woman for a national team. It's imperative and it's true. And so for me, it's just about investing, just giving back to the kids. All of the other, when we started my nonprofit, it was all girls. Now they're like, are you going to do anything for all boys? I'm like, you all have enough. Right. Well, what about us? What about us? So it's important to just keep going. Even when things get hard, even when you don't have it, you just have to see it through to your mission. And then for me, when I did feel like giving up and I was like, you know what, this is too much. I'm going to just get a job. I had to think about a young girl's breakthrough might be tied to my perseverance to keep going. Yeah. And so for me, I have to do it. It's my obligation. It's a duty. And now they can see that, they can do it too.
Yeah. I'm telling y'all, who works for a church in here? I'm telling you, you need to connect with Renee before we get out of here. Renee and Rena, I want to ask you guys this same question, and it's kind of in line. And thank you for your transparency too, Renee. When she talked about the continuation regardless of the roadblocks. Renee, as we think about this world of NIL, social media, we have a lot of young people that are talented, some a little less talented but delusional, no shade. And so there's this expectation that you're going to get these things. You're going to get the NIL deal. You're going to get drafted. What advice would you give to amateur athletes to help kind of ground that? You absolutely should dream because the possibilities are endless, but at the same time, like Renee said, there is a level of preparation that you should always kind of be thinking about as you move up the ladder. So what would be your advice to young women specifically who want to wear a WNBA uniform, who want the NIL, but who also need to be grounded in the realities that may or may not happen?
Yeah, I just always tell people, give yourself the best chance. Like for me, I'm 5'6", you know what I'm saying? Like I might play bigger, but I'm 5'6". I listed myself as 5'7" because
gym shoes.
You know what I'm saying? We don't play without shoes on. But I was 5'6", coming from West Virginia, trying to make it first to college and then to the WNBA. So even when I told people in West Virginia, like I'm going to go to a D1 school, people didn't really see that for me. So I understand the concept of being grounded. People humbled me my whole life. You know what I mean? Like if I would have listened to people my whole life, I definitely wouldn't have had 3 championships in high school. I definitely wouldn't have went to UConn and got a championship there. And I definitely wouldn't have been in the WNBA. So it's almost like sometimes people feel like, wow, man, you're breaking their dreams. It's like, people can't do nothing with my dreams. Like whatever I'm dreaming, you can't stop me from dreaming about it. Like that is my dream. So I think when it comes to like these athletes that are up and coming, I tell them dream big. Like you can't achieve it if you really don't manifest it for yourself. Like if I didn't think I was going to hit that shot, I'm not going to hit that shot. There's just no way around it. If I didn't think that I could actually become a team owner or actually be a professional athlete, there's no way I could do it. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to do it, but if you don't think you can do it, you definitely are not about to do it. So I think what I would tell the athletes is, yeah, you got to first think you can do it. It doesn't mean that, you mentioned it, the top 2% do make it to the pros. So I'm not saying you're going to be a 2%er, but I'm saying that you definitely are not going to be a 2%er if you don't think you can. So that's what I would just tell the up-and-coming athletes.
Rena, I'm going to, before I go to Karen and Jessica to kind of close this out, I do want to ask you that same question. What kind of advice have you been given, to amateur athletes who are coming up with an expectation that they are going to be able to play in the pros? How are you conveying to them the importance of having balance and understanding financial literacy is still important? Having a plan B is still something that you need to consider.
Now, I'll speak a little bit about myself, too. I was the delusional one that thought I was getting drafted, and I didn't play at a high level. I played at a mid-major, Western Carolina. Y'all have never heard of it, I know. But you heard of it? Okay. But long story short, I had a mentor that said, baby girl, like, what are your interests and hobbies outside of basketball? And when she asked me that, I didn't know. And so what I would say right now to young athletes, like, hey, you got to figure out what you're interested in when the ball stops bouncing. Like Renee said earlier, like, who are you? Is it arts? Is it business? Like, there's so many other aspects that you can use sports to carry over to the professional world, right? So I would advise them to get interested in different things, okay? And then you can still master too. You can still master too, but you got to have a plan. Got to have a plan. You got to have a village around you that can be honest with you early. All right. You may think you're going to the league, but people around you may know you probably ain't. Right. So have a good village around you that can be truthful with you to help you out early enough.
All right, Jessica, this might be the last question. Okay. So give it your all. You've been doing great. Similar to what Rena just mentioned about finding the passions outside of your sport. Has that journey happened for you yet? Have you been able to dive into other things outside of basketball? And if so, what are some of those things and how excited are you to be able to continue to explore them?
Yeah, I actually do have a passion outside of basketball, believe it or not. I really want to get into law after I graduate.
Call me.
Wow. Karen said, call a girl.
Call me.
So the past 2 years, I played at IU Northwest in Gary, Indiana, NAIA school. So I kind of had more time on my hands, and I found myself calling different law firms in the area, kind of just reaching out, seeing if they have internships or job opportunities. And the first place I called, Alvarez Law Firm, they said that they would take me unpaid.
Second time somebody said they didn't get a check, but in a good way. Continue.
Yeah, so I got a lot of experience there, and eventually they offered me a legal assistant role there. Nice. So I was working there 4 days out of the week, practices, school, all at the same time, but I kind of did that for myself. My parents didn't really push anything on me, but I found that passion for myself, and it really, I would say it did help me kind of just take my mind off of basketball, so it wasn't, my whole life didn't revolve around that. But yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
You say it so calmly. I'm going to be this amazing lawyer one day, and I did this. I love the humility in it. Karen, you give me closer energy. And my timer says 2.5 minutes. That's right, sit on up. This one's for you. And I kind of want to integrate a little bit of what Jessica said in my own experience. Being a former D1 collegiate athlete and just, many of you can relate on the stage. You're the best on your high school team. You go to college, you have all these accommodations. This becomes everything to you in many respects. And so performanceism starts to seep in and people-pleasing starts to seep in. As a woman in sports at a very high level, has performanceism or people-pleasing ever infiltrated your psyche or your strategy? If so, how? And are there ways in which you fight against that to make sure you can be as effective as possible?
I would say every human being has the danger of people-pleasing creeping into their environment. I think for me, you have to understand, I put myself through college. I put myself through law school. My mom was a single mom. My life plan did not work out. My brother was murdered in a carjacking. I had a disabled child. My dad died of cancer when he was 54. Your life is going to present to you things that you do not expect. It's about perseverance, stick-to-itiveness. It's that, bringing that energy to your own life. What do you want? You have one of these, one trip around the planet. I'm not going to please people. I need to look out for me. Like, I'm going to be pushing the things that matter to me, that are going to make the world a better place so that other people can follow in my footsteps, so I can pull young women up, so we can make this world more equal. But you do have to understand that no matter what your plan is, God's going to deliver something different. And if you're not ready, you're not ready.
I told y'all, I felt that anointing on Karen. I said, she's going to close this thing on out. I am in awe of how incredible you all are, how amazing you are, how dynamic you are, how professional you are, how beautiful you are, how well-spoken you are, how inspirational you are. Thank you so much for this incredible conversation. If you got something out of it, round of applause for all of our incredible women in sports up here.